Hello, Commander Kun Uwu. Welcome back to another Goddess of Victory Nikke video. Today we're going to be talking about gear stats or gear attributes. Now, you're probably wondering, what are gear stats or gear attributes? Well, Commander. These are attributes or stats. I'm going to call them stats. These are stats that you can roll on your equipment or your gear, and it gives your gear a little more extra oomph. A little more razzle dazzle, as the youth say. These stats are as listed that you can get on your gears: increase elemental damage dealt, increase hit rate, increase max ammo capacity, increase attack, increase charge speed, increase charge damage, increase crit rate, increase critical damage, and increase defense. Those are the stats that you are able to get on your gears. Now you're probably wondering, Rujo, how can I get these stats on my gears? What do I need to do? Do I need to sell my kidney? Well. Step this way, Commander. For you to be able to roll stats on your gears, you are going to need Tier 9 company gear. It is the yellow gear or the gold gear that you're able to get in Intercept EX stage. And to know if it's a company gear, on the upper left of the yellow gear or the gold gear, I'm just gonna call it gold gear. So on the upper left of the gold gear, it will have a company symbol, a little purple company symbol. And that will tell you that you have Tier 9 company gear. Now, Shift Up did us a favor, and you cannot mix up company gear on the wrong unit. What I mean by this is that, let's say if you have a Tetra unit, and you just got a Miscellaneous gold gear drop. You could put the Miscellaneous gold gear on the Tetra unit and level it up, but you cannot overload the gear. And when you overload the gear, it is permanently on the character. So Shift Up did us a favor by not messing that up, where you cannot overload a gear on the wrong unit. So hats off to you, Shift Up, because I know a lot of people would have made that mistake. So to be able to overload the gold gear, you have to make sure that they are within the same company and have the proper class. But when you quick equip, it's going to automatically select the proper type class, which is either attack, defense, or support. So quick equip will be able to take care of that for you. So to get Tier 9 company gear to overload, you want to level up the gear to level 5, and then you need 1 rock to be able to overload the gear. That will change it purple, and that will overload the gear, and at that point you will right away roll a stat on the gear. Before we get started, I'm gonna have to talk about elemental damage. I'm going to show up the damage formula here. Now, what does this formula mean? I don't know. All I know is Pimp Daz. You're gonna have to read this from left to right, the damage formula. And we are going to be talking about the elemental bonus damage. Elemental bonus damage, it is a multiplicative instead of additional. As you can see in the formula, it's going to be a stat that you would want to keep in mind while you roll stats on these gears, as the elemental damage dealt roll is good for union raids and solo raids. I'm going to be showing you some charts for archetypes of weapon classes. These are the general rolls you want on your units if they are not high priority on Nikke.gg. So if you don't know what you need for your character, these charts will give you a general idea of where to go with your character. Let's say crown. As of the time of the recording, on Nikke.gg, they haven't updated their list to add crown overload gear priority. But with this table that we have here, we could have a general idea of where you would want crown to be. One of Crown's skills is that she has to hit the enemy 43 times to get a stack in. And from this table, max ammo capacity will be the first stat that you would want to get on your gears to make sure she's able to keep her stacks up without her stopping to reload. And after you get those rolls, you could use this chart to figure out how you want to spec out Crown. Now from this list, we will be bringing up 2 Nikkes that fulfill a similar role but require different investments. And that will be Red Hood and Alice. With Red Hood, you would want more elemental damage, increase attack, and increase charge speed as the main stat you want to roll for Red Hood. And for Alice, the stats you want to roll on her gears are increase elemental damage, increase max ammo capacity, increase attack, increase charge speed, and increase charge damage. Now, why do I say they fulfill a similar role? They're both sniper classes, and their bursts are insane. But one's a pilgrim, and then one's a pilgrim in disguise. One is easily accessible. One, you have to find the lost city of Atlantis. So this part is just talking about working with what you got. If you have Red Hood, that's great. She is amazing. She requires less investment than Alice, but she's a pilgrim, so she's going to be infinitely harder to pull rather than Alice, because you can put Alice on the wish list for the ordinary recruit banner. Alice is more easily attainable than Red Hood, but the investment levels are different. Alice requires more investment than Red Hood due to Alice's spread and her gear stats. Both of them have their uses because they are two different elements. Red Hood is iron, the best element in the game, and Alice is fire, the second best element in the game. So depending on what boss you are fighting, either or will excel depending on the boss's weakness. And that is talking about Union Raid and Solo Raid. Well, like I said earlier, you just have to work with what you got at the end of the day. This is where we're going to get into the opinionated piece of what I'm doing for my units. Of course, we're going to bring up our favorite, Modernia. With Modernia, I will show you guys my Modernia and my Alice. So compared with the stats, I have a decent amount of elemental damage. I have a lot of rolls in max ammo capacity. Increased damage is maxed out, and I have increased crit rate. There is one roll on my Modernia that I have to fix that will be changed into increased crit rate. And on the chart that you see, it's not one-to-one with the chart, but that's just how I want to build my Modernia. With Alice, she doesn't have the greatest rolls on her gears, but when I was talking about working with what you got, I was using Alice as my Intercept EX train boss killer. Don't ask me the name of the boss. I don't know it. But but I rolled on her stats, the stats that I needed on her so she could clear that boss for me, so I could keep getting the rocks as a drop. And that is just increase her max ammo capacity and increase her elemental damage. That's all I have on her, and then she's just doing amazing for me. Now I can go back and respec and fix up Alice's gear stats, but as of right now, I'm just focusing on Modernia. Alice is on the list, but there's a long list for me before I get to Alice. So she's up there as someone to reroll stats on, but I'm not investing in her at the moment. And it's just priorities at the end of the day. Depending on what your priorities are, leveling up your main DPS, go for it. Don't let anyone tell you to invest in a unit opposed than your main DPS. However, the rocks are a finite resource, so proceed with caution. Now let's say if you want to either get rid of the stat that you have on the gear or reset the percentage, you could click change effect. That will change your gear stats, and as you roll, you're able to keep the old stats on the gear or get rid of the old stats to get the new stats that you rolled for. And let's say, I like that stat that I have on my gear. On the right side of that stat, there's a little lock icon, which costs rocks to lock as well. So you could lock that stat and then you could still re-roll. However, locking that stat, when you re-roll or when you change attributes, it will keep that stat at that percentage. You have to remove the lock to change that stat or that percentage. And as you lock more stats and as you re-roll, the rock cost goes up. So it's going to be costing a couple of that blue to get the stats you want. It's the reason why I haven't completely finished my Modernia after almost a damn year of owning her. But resetting the attributes resets to percentage of said stat. And the same thing that happens with the gear stat, it'll ask you if you want to keep your old percentage or to get the new percentage. So that depends on you, whether or not you're willing to make the sacrifice or if you roll for a better percentage. For me, I like rolling the stat first, locking it, then roll for the next stat until I get all three desired stats, and then I will roll for percentage. But for me, if I have the gear stats that I want on a gear, unless I'm mid-maxing, and let's be honest, there's not a lot of rocks to go around, I'm just going to keep the percentages where they're at. As long as I have the stat, I'm good, but that depends on you. If you want to mid-max, go ahead. I am not going to mid-max. If there's an easier way to get rocks besides shoveling out a few doubloons, I'm okay. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you all for being here. If you guys haven't done so already, subscribe, like, comment. Would appreciate all that. Let me know the stat rolls that you have or the stats you are rolling for or the unit that you are rolling for. Thank you for watching, guys. Y'all are awesome, and I will see you guys again on the next video. Until then, have a good one. Bye, 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 bye.